So, I just want to speak my mind and thoughts on the Casteris Exodia team, which more accurately should be called the Hyacine Slave team. Now, why do I think that Hyacine is the greatest slave master that has ever lived in Honkai Star Rail? Simple. She is basically everywhere for most conventional teams. Even outside of HV scaling, she'll fit into the herder teams, kind of saber teams, though gets replaced by Huehue, which is honestly impressive. By Huehue, somehow still relevant thanks to the one DPS who likes abusing energy. She will fit into, I'm fairly certain, My Day teams now because of Cyrene, who in reality is just the bigger slave in this case, who just is the only thing My Day gets as another support. It's honestly sad for My Day, I feel bad. She kind of fits into DOT, not as well as once again Huehue, though. You probably do need to put Hyacine onto your team now if you're going to be using Cyrene in DOT. You see where this is going, right? Hyacine is a sustain that probably will outlive just about everything in 3.x. And actually this might age worse than Milk if I don't know, MiHoYo decides to kill healing. I really highly doubt that. Unless there's 30 bosses like Sam, and instead of reducing healing, they just stop it all together. They slowly drain your health, but you can't restore it, or they I don't know, you take up your entire health bar with unhealable damage. That might be pretty bad for Remembrance teams. But as we slowly get to 4.x, where eventually we're gonna see a new meta arise, we all accept this, and we all know this. The question is, how well will Hyacine age? Because depending on how well Hyacine ages, it will help the rest of the Remembrance flagship team. Now, why do I think this? Well, it's because Hyacine is the real master of the team, right? All the characters in the current Remembrance flagship team, which is, I'm fairly certain, Casteris, Evernite, and Cyrene, are all Hyacine S1 slaves. And for Cyrene, she's just a slave in general. She you don't need a Hyacine with S1. But for Evernite and for Casteris, they love S1 Hyacine. They love that. They eat that up. And by eat that up, I mean they're shackled to it, right? You will not escape the S1 Hyacine with Cyrene and Evernite. And I meant Casteris. Honestly, to be fair, if you don't have S1 Hyacine, but you pulled Cyrene, you're most likely gonna the people that own Cyrene most likely are gonna have S1 Hyacine, unless you're named me. I pulled her for Finon. So speaking of which, I think it's a pretty good discussion on vertical investment and how the Remembrance flagship team, the cast team, kind of works, and how it doesn't really make sense to call it the Casteris team, in my opinion. Because nearly all of your vertical investments that you're going to be doing to make the team better is for your supports. It's you want Hyacine S1, you want Evernite S1. Hell, if you get E2 Evernite, you're just replacing Casteris on the team at that point. Casteris becomes your sub DPS because E2 Evernite does more damage than, I think, even E2 Casteris. You kind of see the issue here. And the fact is, you can keep all of these characters on the same team because they synergize so well, not only with each other, but because Hyacine is there. Hyacine makes this team work so well. Imagine trying to do the Remembrance flagship team and replace Hyacine with Galaga. You probably can't, because it's just such a weird idea. And it feels so foreign and so janky, maybe, that you just don't consider it a possibility, which I definitely think is funny. I think Casteris necessarily isn't actually that powerful of a DPS in the design department, because when you look at her actual kit, there's a lot in it, but it's actually like, if you remove her best in slot team, she kind of performs averagely, I would say. Probably below that of Anaxa, Finon, May, like, she would fall to, like, not to tier 0.5, definitely. She would still be tier 0 character, but definitely nowhere near to the level as her with her bullshit castery enslaved group. And I think this really comes down to just how MiHoYo went about creating the Remembrance team. They were specifically designed in mind to be so reliant on each other to get like amazing scores. Like, try using Cyrene without Crisis S. You will hate your life. Try using Evernight in like a team with Gallagher. Yeah, you're probably not gonna like it either. You don't have Remember Sprite characters, don't pull Evernight. Or like, and when I mean Mema Sprite characters, if you don't have Triby and Hyacinth, that's basically it. It's honestly kind of entertaining how brain dead Hyacinth has made team building to the point where I just argue that we need a kind of different approach with DPSs. And like, this is probably the best way to solve the even HP inflation problem, is not only have bosses with extremely unique mechanics that require you to think around them, but also have DPSs that have niche and weird abilities that you need to play around with to properly get them to do their best. What do I mean by this? Take a look at our Finon boy and his making everybody exit the field when he ults. That is a very unique mechanic in this game. And guess what? It makes his teams very wildly variation in terms of just everything. You will see very wild clears with Finon because he just allows for that. He's a character that allows for weird team building for the most part, so long as you're just running 3 supports. Any 3 supports that are Harmony and give buffs will basically do for Finon. Of course, his best in slot, Cyridra, is kind of a must for the better clears, but like, after that you can throw whatever, basically, because the just changes aren't massive. I will say, Cyrene does look like she's shaping up to be a kind of best in slot, but only because, one, Finon has got such a... how do you even describe it? A very most hyper carry S support you have ever seen. He is like the most greatest, most easiest thing to like just team build, because you just throw supports that buff and you've got it. Like who was she gonna compete with? Sunday and Danhang PT? Like, if you like in the longer engagements, Cyrene is better. So unfortunately, you kind of have to accept that Cyrene is gonna become a best in slot for Finon. But she's not that. You definitely can tell she's not built for it. And I reckon this is because Finon does not have a Hyacinth. There is no Hyacinth equivalent for Finon teams. Hyacinth is a plague. Worse than a Hysolins and the DOT shill in Pure Fiction that makes me want to rip out my hair because of stupid Manta Ray. I think that we should make a petition to make all our DPSs have unique mechanics that completely screw over this stupid healer. Because let's be real, killing Hyacinth doesn't actually kill Remembrance team as much as like you might think. Because here's Remembrance team, those slaves to Hyacinth do have a shot, and that's getting a different support and sustain that maybe is more niche in a certain aspect, but can outperform Hyacinth at her job in the Remembrance team, which is being the engine for Casteries and Evernight and Cyrene. Maybe that 1 4-star that definitely probably is coming in 4.x, probably 4.7, 4.8, is going to replace Hyacinth. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what they're gonna do with this annoying, like, abundance character in reality. Like, there's no way you can call her Remembrance. She just so happens to have a cute mascot. There's no way that I would call her anything close to Remembrance. I think it's a big shame. Like, Castries teams, if you want really good high clears, you want Hyacine S1 more than anything else. Like, for Finon teams, it's very different. Like, my experience with team building in Honkai Star Rail is kind of mixed. Because reality is, unfortunately, there's not that much variation. In even Finon, who I'm like touting as this, you know, character who you can throw anything on, still has his most clear, definite best team. Which actually isn't so clear because people are probably still arguing about whether Sunday is better than Cyrene. I'm not gonna get into that argument. I just don't own Sunday, so I can't. But from my experience, Cyrene is absolutely good for Finon, so long as you have enough Crisis Heirs to fill out the team, which you should. Well, maybe if you skipped Cyredra, then you wouldn't. This is a bit of a longer video, so I think it's a good discussion to talk about team building in Honkai Star Rail, mainly because as somebody who's played other turn-based gacha games, for example, FGO, a game that I genuinely like its gameplay, because it's so, like, you can throw just about anything in, and so long as it counters what you're fighting, you'll probably, you know, win. But, like, then again, I can't really talk, because I've been cruising through the game currently with, just using Gilgamesh and Merlin, and then a support Koi and Skya. Though I will say, I did beat Crustacea with a solo mash. Well, actually, no. Was it solo mash? Or was it... It doesn't really matter. Like and subscribe. Catch you next time. I do hope to continue making content like this, where I can just yap about stuff I don't like. For example, Hyacine. I've forgiven Cass and all her bum glory. She may lose constantly in the story, but she is a fanfic writer, and I can, like, subscribe to that. So yeah, free my fellow fanfic writer, Castoris, from her evil slave master, Hyacine. Goodbye.